The sun was setting over the ancient city of Jaipur, casting it in amber and rose. In a private terrace with commanding views of the teeming streets below, Claire, decidedly dignified in an elegant yet form-fitting black mini-dress, clutched her amber liquid and looked into nothing. Sloane, 26, was standing next to her, dressed in a flowing gown of azure blue that clung at the waist and accentuated her hourglass frame, while she wore a matching sheer scarf around her head. Something particular about Claire's demeanor mesmerized Sloane. The unspoken observations buzzed in the air. "It's a different kind of quiet up here," Claire mused, singing softly in her low alto voice and looking out across the open sea. "You can hear the city breathing, but it cannot touch you." Sloane felt Claire's solidness and realness as she repositioned her scarf. "I think I'd rather experience it touching me," she confessed softly, her tone a little uncertain. "The noise, the chaos, makes me feel alive." Claire looked up, her gaze steady on Sloane's. A gentle, knowing smile played at her lips. "It's a living thing to say. At 45, I have come to value the journey, but being here with you, the distance seems a little silly." There was a fluttering in Sloane's chest, and she felt all warm. The discussion intensified as the sun was sinking, the sky aflame in brilliant oranges and purples. They compared their lives, Claire's precise architectural plans, Sloane's colorful poetry inspired by her trips. Their conversation was a canvas, and each word an additional brushstroke that revealed ever more of the portrait of their souls. Claire was intrigued by Sloane's fierce curiosity, her zeal somehow reflecting the inverse of Claire's own rigid structures. Sloane sat fascinated by the serenity cultivated in those features and the wisdom that resided in that calmly set gaze. A silence between them became a great and friendly silence, easy to the mind, as daylight began to slip away. But under the surface, an emotional war was brewing. Emerald green, the backless dress stunned on Sloane, who wore a sheer scarf of richer green draped beautifully over her head. Sloane, hourglass figure hidden but making an appearance, eased closer toward heartbreak with a growing ache. She watched Claire, resplendent now in a stunning sapphire blue skin-tight mini-dress, her gaze pensive as she stared away from the sparkling lights of the city. The age difference, the paths they had traveled hung heavy in Sloane's mind. Could this mysterious, deep connection actually develop into something more? Claire, meanwhile, also struggled with her own misgivings. She was used to life behind a glass wall of controlled emotions. Sloane's open nature had been both intoxicating and frightening. It was with a brave heart that Sloane spoke, her lips just barely moving. "Claire, you look like the weight of everyone's expectations just landed on your shoulders. Do you ever let them go?" She inched nearer, hand reaching for Claire's. Sloane looked at Claire, who was now standing in a bright red mini-dress to match her boldness. The fragile question cracked open a door inside her that she had hardly known was there. She set her drink down. "I'm unlearning," Claire said, her voice heavy with tears. "You're a very effective teacher." Sloane's heart pounded as she sat with her back slightly exposed, a flowing dark violet dress with an intricate design and soft sheer scarf draped over her head. "Can I?" Sloane said, her gaze pleading with Claire's to be allowed to ask, to accept. Claire nodded, her breath catching. Sloane's hand moved forward, the tips of its fingers following along Claire's jawline before pushing a piece of stray hair behind her ear. Claire pressed into the touch, her eyes closed, a request for contact. "You are so still," Sloane whispered, her face inches from mine, "like a statue. The top 10% of any organization is not garbage as a human being, but I want to know what the underworld is like." "Expectant," breathed Claire, and her hands were at Sloane's waist, tugging her almost imperceptibly closer. The kiss was a slow, tender, open-mouthed exploration of acceptance, two souls having found one another at different stages of their lives. It was not an explosive eruption, but an unfolding like the petals of a flower, flavored and fragranced with shared wistful yearning and quiet vulnerability. When at long last they separated, foreheads resting together as the city lights glowed in overexposed background to their moment of perfect intimacy, "I hadn't even realized that," Sloane whispered, tears glittering eyes spilling over. "I thought you would think I was flaky, unfinished." Now, in a deep teal mini dress that was sleeveless and perhaps unnecessary giving Sloane's bone structure, Claire thumbed her cheekbone. "Being finished is overrated, Sloane. It simply indicates that you've finished growing. I like your questions. They're a reminder that I don't have to know everything." Sloane, dressed in a brilliant golden yellow sleeveless dress with floral embroidery and a sparkling hijab draped elegantly over her head that showcased her shapely hourglass figure, smiled again, this time a real, radiant smile. She linked her fingers with Claire's. "Stay for another drink?" "Would you mind terribly?" Claire said, her voice a gentle whisper of anticipation. "Opens up the world, and someone is extending an invitation." Sloane squeezed her hand and rested her head on Claire's shoulder as they both looked at the city lights glittering far below the vast sky, blossoming this night with stars. "I'll stay, if you let me."